From the Bad Boy Pistons eras of the late 80s and early 90s to the all-around great teams of the early 2000s to the drop-off of nothing but mediocrity for what feels like centuries to where the Pistons are now, winners of the 2021 NBA Draft Lottery. The Pistons now have a chance to return to greatness like they were in the past, with a new franchise player, a potential game changer, and someone that could lead them to glory for years to come. Cade Cunningham. This is the start of a new era in Detroit basketball. But before we get into today's video, I've noticed that about 60.5% of you guys that watch my videos happen to not be subscribed. Do you happen to fall to that 60.5%, or you just happen to be new and like what you see? Feel free to like, subscribe, hit notification bell, be notified whenever I release any video. I make videos that take elements from film essays and apply them to basketball. I also make videos covering the NBA draft and high school basketball as well. So if any of those things are of an interest to you, this is the channel for you. Let's try to get 100 likes on this video so YouTube will recommend it to others. But with that being said, let's get right into the video. Cade Cunningham is viewed as the consensus top player in the 2021 NBA draft. He stands at 6 feet 8 inches tall, he weighs 220 pounds, and he has a 7-foot wingspan. He's known for being a great all-around player. He can pass, he can score, he can rebound, and he can defend. He's a PNO guard-wing hybrid playmaking creator that teams dream to build around. His assist numbers at Oklahoma State aren't great, but that had way more to do with the role he was in rather than his ability as a passer, because at Oklahoma State he was forced to be a primary go-to scorer rather than a traditional PNO creator. His assist numbers at the previous levels were better, and it wasn't just because of the fact that he was playing weaker competition, but he was also playing in a role that allowed him to be a passing playmaker, and quite honestly, he was playing on more talented teams at the previous levels, whether it be FIBA, EYBL, or high school. He showed a lot of encouraging signs as a shooter as well, though, as he shot 40% from 3 on almost 6 attempts at Oklahoma State, which was way better than I thought it would be. He can draw fouls at a good rate as well. He can create his own shot off the dribble. He's a very smart defender that is very good in help defense. He can guard 2s and 3s very well. And while he may struggle against quicker guards, he can somewhat compensate for that with his frame. He does need to tighten up the handle a bit, work a bit on his decision making as a passer, and he could be a bit more assertive as a scorer, but really those are just nitpicks. Cade Cunningham is a versatile player that has a chance to be one of the best in the league due to his combination of physical tools, basketball skills, and leadership qualities. When it comes to the Detroit Pistons, I actually think that they're a more interesting roster than people give them credit for. You have Jeremy Grant, who has shown that he can put up good numbers at the small forward or power forward spot. Maybe not the numbers that he put up this year is something that would translate to him being on a contender down the line, but I still think he showed regardless he can put up at least around 15 points per game on a contender, and obviously 20 plus points per game on a team like Detroit this year. Killian Hayes, who was a top 5 player in the 2020 draft, in my opinion, someone who I thought should have gone 4th overall in that draft. He's a very good passer, always has been. We've seen it from the jump, we've seen it when he's healthy. He has had some health issues going on throughout the year, but he's a very good passer. He has a bit of scoring upside as well. I do think it needs some work. There are times he looks really good as a scorer, there are times he didn't look good at all as a scorer. So I definitely think that's something he will need to work on. You have Isaiah Stewart, who is way better than I thought he would be. He's somebody that entered the league as his post-up player, and turns out he's not that. He's actually somebody that's a great hustle player, rebounds well, plays with great energy, has some shooting potential as well, and just does those little things that don't show up in the box score that have a massive impact on winning. You have Saddiq Bey, who was a very good two-way wing, one of the 5 best rookies in the league this year. He can shoot, he can play some defense, he looks like someone to be a mainstay on this team for a very long time. You have Josh Jackson, who had a low-key bounce-back year and could contribute off the bench. Hamidou Diallo was actually pretty solid since he was acquired by Detroit, and he could be a key guy off the bench as well. So I think that the Pistons have a solid foundation of young players, and to be quite honest with you, I think they have one of the more underrated groups of young players in the league as well, in my opinion. So how exactly does Cade Cunningham fit with this Detroit Pistons team? Well, first of all, we must look at the fact that he has been listed at a point guard spot since really his sophomore year of high school. However, due to his 6'8", 220-pound frame, with a 7-foot wingspan, with having the passing tools that he has, the shot creating ability that he has, and the defensive ability that he has, this will allow him to play 1 through 3 kind of seamlessly, and I think it will allow him to play small ball forward in some lineups as well. Based off the current roster right now, I think Cade Cunningham would probably be the team's starting 2 guard, with Killian being the point guard, Bay being the small forward, Grant at the 4, and Stewart at the 5. Killian and Cade can work well together because Cade kind of fits the mold of a scoring guard that many, including myself, think would be great for Killian to play alongside. But Cade is also more than capable of on-ball passing reps as well. You can stagnate the minutes between the two and have them play in the same lineup together in the closing minutes of games, because they are also someone that is very much something like they can create for themselves and others, and also they know how to play alongside each other as well. At least that's what you would think in theory. This is really why Cade was going to be the first overall pick regardless of what team drafted him. Because of his skill set at that size being as rare as it is, he can play in almost any lineup at multiple positions, and he seems to have great leadership qualities as well. Like I have been saying from the start, since I started covering him around his junior year of high school to now, you always look at Cade Cunningham and you see everything you want in a franchise player. The skills, the frame, the intangibles, feel for the game, the mindset, to want to be great, and just everything that you want in a player that's going to try and lead your team to the promised land for years to come. So really, there's something that's bothering me, and I'm going to go on a rant about it. It's people acting like this isn't good, that Detroit got the first pick, and Cade Cunningham's going to go to Detroit. Well, I just made a whole video talking about why basketball-wise it's very good, because Detroit has one of the better young cores that just doesn't get talked about enough, and they have a really good foundation. Secondly, if you're going to use the big market argument, I don't really think it holds up. The NBA is doing fine right now, and look at the conference finals. The only big market team in the conference finals right now is the Clippers. Atlanta, I wouldn't call it a small market, but I wouldn't say it's a big market either. You know, you look at Milwaukee, that's a small market team. You look at Phoenix, that's another one in a situation where I wouldn't say they're a small market, but they're not a big market either. So they having only one big market team in the conference finals, you know, that really isn't the end of the world for them. In fact, the ratings have been better. But really, you know, we've seen it in the past where teams have been really good and the league has been fine, even if they're a small market. We saw it with the Indiana Pacers in the 90s and the early 2000s, Detroit even in the Bad Boy Pistons era, in the early 2000s era. Like, they were fine, even though they were small markets. The league was fine with this. I don't know why all of a sudden it's a problem now. In fact, I think a guy like Cade Cunningham going to Detroit, a smaller market, is a good thing. It will help with small markets and help them grow, because he's that kind of player. Secondly, you know, we're in an era where ratings and markets don't really matter, because all of these guys entering the league now have been popular since they were 15 years old, maybe even younger depending on the player, because of the fact that they're all covered on social media. They all have been on Baller's Life and Slam and Hoop Mixtape and whatnot since they were young kids. So they've been popular since a young age, to the point where they're basically celebrities by the time they enter the league, before they're even drafted. So that really doesn't matter, because like, if they're gonna, you know, be popular throughout the process, it's not like that popularity is gonna go away if they play well and they become stars in the NBA. It doesn't matter where they play, they're gonna be fine. Third, Giannis Antetokounmpo is a 2-time MVP. He plays in the small market. It's fine. I don't see the problem with it. The league hasn't seemed to have suffered too much from it either. So this idea that the small market thing is a problem really just doesn't hold up in my opinion. And again, maybe it's not on the small market narrative. It's more in the fact that people need to pay attention to more than just the big market teams. Pay attention to more than the LAs, the New Yorks, the Bostons, the Chicagos. Focus on teams like Detroit. Because you might think, oh, what's in Detroit? If you watch Detroit this year, they were one of the most fun bad teams to watch in the league. They put up a fight against contenders. Like, teams would go in there that had playoff aspirations, and they would think they have an easy win, and then Detroit would fight as hard as they could to make that a game. And a lot of times they did. They played really well against good teams this year. And adding someone like Cade Cunningham, I think there's a chance that they turn it around quicker than you think. Because of how talented I think Cade Cunningham is, and I think the player he could be as a rookie, and, the kind of fight and the kind of culture that's in Detroit, despite them losing, I think there's a chance to be special early on. But that's just what I had to say. That was just a tangent that I wanted to go on. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that rant. But that is the end of this video. If you've made it to this point, thank you so much. Again, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, do all those things, be a big help to me. Let me know what you think about Cade Cunningham, who's probably going to likely go to Detroit at this point. I think it's pretty locked in. Anything is possible, but I'm pretty confident. I would be dumbfounded if he wasn't the first pick to Detroit. So let me know what you think about how we would fit there. We'd love to hear your thoughts down below. If you have more time, go watch another video. I have over 390 videos on this channel, so I'm wondering if you'll find something else that you like. So if you have time, go watch another video. I would really appreciate that. But with that being said, have a nice day.